Hello, and thanks for tuning in to Town Meeting TV's coverage of Town Meeting Day 2026. My name is Emily Anderson. This program is part of a series of budget presentations and candidate forums hosted by Town Meeting TV in advance of Town Meeting Day's election, the Town Meeting Day election on Tuesday, March 3rd, 2026. These forums are made possible by Town Meeting TV's generous underwriting partners. You can find all forums at cctv.org/TMD2026 or Town Meeting TV's YouTube channel, where auto-generated captions are available. If you're tuning in on YouTube, click the subscribe button to stay tuned into local democracy this election season. On tonight's program, we will hear from two municipal staff from Essex about items on their ballot. These guests are Greg Duggan, the town manager, and Kendall Chamberlain, the vice chair of the select board. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. Yeah.
If you are tuning in live, we also welcome your questions at 802-862-3966. If you call in, we will do our best to prioritize your question, though we will screen calls to ensure questions are not repeated. We ask that you share your name, the town you live in, and ask your question to the group. Let's get started with the presentation.
Thank you, Emily.
You're welcome.
So, I guess we bring up the first PowerPoint. I would like to bring folks' attention to the fact that Essex won the Vermont Town Report Contest for our particular category in 2025. Kudos to the town staff for doing that. They do a heck of a job. We're moving on to the town meeting informational hearing on March 2nd, 2026. We'll be talking about the public hearing agenda, which is, we'll explain what is the general fund, the fiscal year 2027 proposed budget, an overview of the 2026 town meeting ballot items, elections, and questions to follow. Just to note that the fiscal year in Essex covers from July 1st, 2026 to June 30th.
And Kendall, if I can just jump in real quick, the select board has not actually approved or adopted the budget yet. We have our select board meeting this coming Monday, January 26th. We have a public hearing on the budget, and after that, the select board will adopt the budget with or without changes that are seen today. Same with the ballot items that will be adopted this coming Monday, so some of this stuff is subject to change, but this is a pretty good final draft, we think.
Yeah. So we're very hopeful that it will be passed on Monday. So the general fund of the town supports all of your departments like fire, animal control, zoning, clerk, parks and trails, planning, assessor, IT, board committees, legal, senior vans, engineering, police, stormwater, highway, community day, facilities management, elections, economic development, health officer, administration, cemeteries, library, free events, treasurer, and probably others that aren't listed here. We also provide significant contributions towards the operating cost of the Sandhill Pool, the Indian Brook Park, Green Mountain Transit, Essex Rescue, Winooski Valley Parks, County Services, and the Essex Community Historical Society. The general fund, to note, does not support town water and sewer systems or associated staff costs. They have their separate budget that is approved outside of the town report. We also do not support Parks and Recreation's paid programs. They have a very robust program to charge for some of the programs that they do. Vehicle and major equipment replacement, significant stormwater and parks projects, roadway reconstruction, or large facility projects all come out of the capital budget. And that is approved but not on town meeting day. Also, any Essex Westford School District or City of Essex Junction operations, except for those that are specifically noted in the budget where we share costs for some of the services. All of these are paid for by using funds outside of the municipal services budget. So we had some very specific goals for fiscal year 27, this entire select board. One of those was to limit the tax rate increase to between 2 and 3.5%. We're hoping that inflation was going to be about that, and it looks like we got pretty close. We also wanted to eliminate the operating transfers to the capital after we had a 2% increase that was approved to the capital tax in 2025. And we wanted to make sure that we ensured the most cost-effective and efficient operations that we could throughout the departments. So some of the cost factors in the general fund highlights. We were amazed this year that our health premiums were only up 1.94%, which that's a historical low for Essex. Typically it averages about 10 to 15%. Inflation has been driving up the cost of construction supplies, vehicles, repair parts, vendor services, contractual raises to staff, and general cost of labor and more. And also Essex funds the police patrol officers and the public works highway staffing at 88% and 93% effectively to better approximate the historical spending that we've had due to staffing shortages. And I would encourage any police guys or public works guys out there to look at Essex because we're a really good place to work. Some of the cost savings and efficiencies that we noted this year was Essex Junction will continue to pay approximately the 50% towards the police department. And now we have also ratified an agreement with them to pick up 50% of the assessing services. We have been helping them significantly, but we formalized it this year in a policy where we'll be sharing the costs. This year we're going to contract out some mowing, landscaping, leaf pickup, and plowing of cul-de-sacs to save money. We're finding that might be more efficient use of our staff time. We're adopting public records software to streamline the process for records requests. I believe that's to make all the departments pretty much all across everybody. We're converting or consolidating software platforms to simplify processes for the same reason. And our interest revenue has been consistently staying the same level, so we budgeted $299,888 for that. Some of the staffing related budget changes this year, we've got 3 staffing changes proposed. In the library, we're adding 5 substitute hours a week and 4.5 hours a week for a part-time library assistant to support the programming and more coverage. And that equals about a 0.125 full-time increase each with no benefits. Police, we have a 28 hours a week sport services director, and we're adding a 40-hour lieutenant, which is a 0.3 full-time equivalent plus benefits. And unfortunately, the state funds provided for our 2.6 full-time equivalents to operate the Community Justice Center will end in fiscal year 27, as a shift in how the state funds restorative justice work has now consolidated all that in Burlington. And that is kind of where we're shifting around our full-time equivalent employees. Fiscal year 26 changes seen for the first time in the fiscal 27 budget. Our assessor's part-time administration assistant role has been moved to be a full-time assistant assessor to support the continued shared services with the City of Essex Junction. And I think that will work out very well for both of us as it will provide a backup for each community. Parks and Recreation Maintenance had a significant reorganization. Part-time has moved to a full-time trails coordinator, and that department is doing excellent work these days. The police union contract adjusted our salaries in July of 2025, as well as the public works maintenance staff. Both of them were union negotiations that turned out very well. And we have a part-time economic development position that was absorbed into the manager's office, with the part-time administrative assistant going to full-time, with no increase in full-times. So, general fund highlights some more. The prior year fund balance of $78,498 is proposed for use in the fiscal year 27 budget to offset one-time costs of $23,648 for the town's portion of body camera and tasers in the police department, $40,000 for a salary study required under the union contracts, $2,000 for Board of Civil Authority stipends due to reappraisal, $1,300 for Parks and Rec web track applications, one-time setup fee, $4,050 for installation of a new phone system, and $7,500 for a library purchase of wheelchair accessible tables. And I would note that a big goal of the department, of the town, has been to utilize the fund balance, which is left over from a previous budget, to cover some of these one-time expenses, so we aren't required to increase the operating budget and then subsequently decrease it. So it eliminates a lot of the banjoing. So. Some of the key budget changes compared to last year's budget, fiscal year 26, is the increases in expenses are the regular personnel costs, including benefits, are at $897,874. Technology subscriptions and licenses are up by $98,805. Contracted services have been increased for $56,046. And snow removal has gone up for $48,000. Is that pretty much accurate?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There are also $277,522 in reductions in the budget for vehicle purchases. We pulled out $72,000. Fuel costs went down this year. Yay. $54,406. Professional services are down $50,507. And other cost savings, miscellaneous things all across the budgets were $100,609. For a net increase in the operating budget of $823,203. The human services funding has changed the last couple of years, as you know. In 1987, Essex voters approved the practice of raising 1% of the general fund budget, distributing it to local human service organizations. Until 2025, 1% was included in the budget approved by the voters when they approved the budget. For the first time last year, there was a separate question on the ballot for voters to decide whether to do this or not. We are going to ask that question again, and probably for the foreseeable future, due to some of the state regulations that have changed on that. So voters will again be asked to whether they want to dedicate 1% of the proposed fiscal year 27 budget, which will amount to about $171,892,000, provided there's no changes to the budget, for this purpose. So the proposed budget for fiscal year 2027, you'll note there is one that says without human services and one is with human services. Again, that value that I gave on previous, that's the difference. So the total proposed budget this year, I'll do without human services, is $17,189,166. The change up from fiscal year 2025 is $823,203. The percent budget change works out to 5.03%. The estimated tax levy change, though, is 3.31%. Both of those are pretty close to the select board goals. The grand list change we're anticipating, which is fairly close, I believe it was like 0.71 this year.
That sounds about right, yes.
Very close. So we figure a 0.75% increase to our grand list, resulting in an estimated tax rate change of 2.54%. So basically, we're right on the money.
Yeah.
Good job to the staff.
Congratulations.
This budget is funded through property taxes, interest income, grants, state payments, shared service agreements, permit and service fees, pool and park fees, recording fees, and many other sources. You'll note that the amount to be raised through property taxes is $12,240,965, which is 71% of the total budget. Without the human services funding, or $12,412,857,000, 72% if we're also raising those funds. The estimated tax impact, we still use $287,000, which is our value that we had back in 2007. As we are currently going through a reappraisal, that should have an impact on everybody as early as July this year when it's finished. Barring that, currently though, the fiscal year for the town general tax without the human services, the fiscal year 26 rate was 0.7296 per 100 assessed value, right? Mm-hmm. The fiscal year 27 estimated rate will be 0.7481 cents. That's a 2.54% change for a dollar value of $51.80 per household. So that's pretty good, $1 a week increase for your town portion of the taxes. And I would note that it would increase by 0.02% if we approve the human services funding, which would result in an increase of $52.92. So these assumptions are based on changes in the taxes estimated on an average residential value of $280,000, as I said, which dates from 2007 and will definitely change after reappraisal. The grand list growth, as I mentioned before, 0.75%. We're using the $78,498 from the prior fund balance for those special items. And this tax rate does not include the capital tax rate of 5 cents, nor the local agreement rate of around 0.002 cents. So a question that we get asked quite often is, how is each taxpayer dollar spent when it goes through the departments? And the biggest cost, of course, is the police, because Essex has a top-notch police department, and we want to maintain that as best we can. Next is 18 cents goes to your public works and highways. 14% is for all the administrative services across the department. 10 cents for parks, pools, and library. 6 cents building and stormwater. 4 cents for fire and animal control and community and economic development and county regional legislative. And 3 cents is debt service. And I would note that that is fantastic, that we have very, very low debt service in Essex, and that is kudos to the staff and the boards that have come before us. And where does each dollar of the town revenue come from? As I mentioned before, the property taxes, we only need 71 cents of that to fund the budget. The City of Essex Junction provides 21 cents for the shared services, and investments and interest have kicked up to 3 cents. Miscellaneous fees and licenses and state payments contribute another 2 cents apiece, and the pool and park fees another 1 cent. So I think we make very good use of any money that we get.
Yeah.
So fiscal year 27 select board budget goals, as I stated before, we really wanted to limit the tax rate increase to 2 to 3.5%. And this proposed tax rate increase is 2.54 or 2.56, I believe, so we're right in the zone. We also wanted to eliminate the operating transfers to capital after we increased the 2 cents to the capital tax, so now we have a nickel. So we have not included any capital costs in this budget, which is the first, I believe, for a long time.
Yep.
So. And we are working very hard. Something that never stops is to ensure cost-effective and efficient operations, especially around like the mowing and the plowing and places where there might be opportunities to use contractors to free up some of the town staff to do other projects. Again, some of those examples would be like mowing, landscaping, leaf pickup. We've got 5 town facilities this year that will be done through those contracted services. We've decided to plow all of the cul-de-sacs through the contracted services because of the way the plow truck works in a cul-de-sac. It takes a lot of time for the staff, so we expect that will save a lot of time for the trucks. And this will allow our staff to pivot to higher priority items, such as they might find this weekend.
Right. Yeah, this is, yeah.
Regarding reappraisal, the objective of the townwide reappraisal, of course, is to revalue all the properties at the same time based on current market and sale data. And as you can see, we're quite a ways below that right now. This will ensure that all the properties with similar land uses, densities, and sizes are valued similarly. Because municipal taxes are primarily based on property value, this process is crucial to ensuring all taxpayers are paying taxes that correctly correlate to their property's relative value in the community. Town budget will not be changed by reappraisal. The town will still only need to raise the amount of the approved budget. If the value of the property in town increases, the tax rate will decrease accordingly when set by the select board in July of 2026. But our last reappraisal was 2007, and that was the average home value at that time. Other ballot items are, shall the voters approve setting the number of Essex Development Review Board members to 5 in accordance with 24 VSA 4460F. It's a citizen-led ballot item that will be binding if passed. The 2 members with the nearest term expiration dates would be replaced. They would not be replaced. They would just expire and their terms would not be renewed. Other ballot items, this is the big one, is shall the voters of the Essex Town advise the Select Board to continue overall progress on implementing the new municipal complex at 8090 Upper Main Street, for which the Select Board adopted a conceptual master plan in March 2025. That's a biggie. Along with that question, we've got a little bit more detail, assuming that that may be approved or not. We need to know is shall the voters of the Essex Town advise the Select Board to complete public infrastructure design at 8090 Upper Main. It was purchased to serve that new municipal complex, for which we adopted a conceptual master plan. And only the following funding sources are eligible to cover the town costs: capital funds, impact fees, a $500,000 grant, and any other grants, donations, reserve funds, approved fund balance assignments, and/or a local option tax revenue, should we ever look at that again. And construction of any portion of the new facility shall not occur without that future voter input, and costs for this infrastructure would not exceed $2 million. We're projecting 1.5, but we want to make sure that we cover in case there's a little bit of a cost increase. So, and also we have a moderator that we elect every year. And actually this year there are 3 Select Board vacancies. There are 2 3-year terms and 1 1-year term to finish out Tracy, who unfortunately could not be here today. And that's it.
Oh, that's
all I
it.
have.
Oh, wow. Well, that's such an impressive presentation. Thank you. I'll just remind people that there is the opportunity to call 802-862-3966, and just in giving people a little moment to maybe call if they're calling. I got excited about the building.
Yes.
Could you say a little bit more about the building and what potentially makes it a hot item?
Well, the town, back with the ARPA money, it was very clear in the town plan that residents wanted to purchase something long-lasting, and a new town center has been on the top of the priority for a while. So we purchased the property up at 8009 Main, and we proceeded to go ahead and do design work about how we might use that property, which included potentially local affordable housing and all kinds of things. And actually, I'm going to throw this question over to Greg, because he can probably explain
Yes,
it better
Greg.
than I can.
Sure. So as some people who are paying attention might know, the town of Essex used to include the village of Essex Junction. The 2 municipalities separated back in 2022. So now we're 2 separate, distinct municipalities. The town of Essex offices are in the city of Essex Junction. So that's one of the reasons where about 4 years ago, 3.5, 4 years ago, the Select Board started talking about what's the future look like? What does the future of the town of Essex look like after separation? The fire department is getting rather old and small for the needs of the community. The library is in this beautiful old historic building. It's also getting tight. They're short on storage space, short on community space, programming space. We don't really have much gathering space in town. So through a combination of those things and the Select Board direction after that separation, staff started looking to, at the Select Board direction, where could we site a future municipal complex if we have to do that. We identified a few different locations. 8090 Upper Main Street made the most sense. As Kendall mentioned, the American Rescue Plan Act money, COVID relief money, was given to municipalities throughout the country. Essex used its money to do site investigation and then purchase the property that we now have. The purchase happened about 2.5 years ago. Since then, the Select Board staff, the community has been working to put together conceptual design phase, and so we kind of have a nice concept plan about what could be up there in the future. That includes town offices, library, fire station, community center of some sort, some recreation trails, also the likelihood of some sort of, whether it's residential or mixed-use development.
Wow.
We're getting to the point now where we have to spend money beyond that ARPA money. We've spent almost all of it. And so as we get into the infrastructure design phase and potentially beyond that, we're going to start to talk about where does that money start to come from.
Right.
So the Select Board, the community have been looking at having some voter input as to how to move forward, in what fashion, in what way. I don't think there's not really any intention to do all 4 of those buildings all at once, but the next step would be that infrastructure design phase. The town has received $500,000 grant from the Northern Borders Regional Commission. We need to provide a match for that, so that's kind of where the question that Kendall had shown about using capital funds, additional grant revenue, future revenue to support that. That's kind of the next step of if voters want to move ahead with that and start spending money on the design, infrastructure design. There's also the more general question about how does the town feel? Kind of a temperature check. Are we still excited about this, ready to move forward with this in some fashion? So those are the two questions. The select board has not finally decided on either of these yet, but that seems to be the momentum and the direction that we're going. So on this coming Monday, I think the select board will decide whether to use one or both of those questions on the town meeting ballot to get some direction to go ahead.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Wow, well that sounds very exciting. We have just a couple more minutes, and I wondered if you wanted to say anything more that you felt should be said, or either of you.
I don't think so. The Development Review Board question that came in from voter-backed petition, as Kendall mentioned, the Development Review Board is fairly new in Essex. For many, many years, the town worked under a planning commission zoning board model. Their charter was changed by voters a few years ago to shift to a planning commission development review board model. So we've been doing that for just about a year. That started last January 1st is when that took effect. So the planning commission now does the planning, development review, reviews any subdivisions, variances, site plans, development happening in town. It's currently a 7-member board that was based on direction from the zoning board, the planning commission at the time. The select board moved ahead in that direction. We're going through the learning process right now about what's going to work, and residents have sought to make that a 5-member board. So that would be a potential change. I think the rest of it is pretty straightforward. Certainly, if there are any questions come in, we'd love to have them in the next minute or two. We always look forward for town meeting. It's a Vermont institution. Essex a few years back started doing everything by Australian ballot. We don't do floor vote anymore. That was probably 3 years ago, I think, that we made that switch. So we still do kind of town meeting light. The state requires us to do an informational hearing before town meeting. We do that the night before, the Monday before town meeting, sort of in keeping with our past practice of starting town meeting that night. We try to make a great event out of it. We call it the Town Showcase. We have it at Essex Middle School. All the different boards and committees, staff departments are all invited to come in, set up presentations, and present to the public about what we do and highlight what we do as town staff, as volunteers, as the select board. We call soup night as well. We get a local vendor to provide us with some delicious soup. So we're going to continue that tradition this year.
Cool.
And then we run through this presentation with whatever changes might happen between now and then, but just try to inform voters about what's on their ballot and try to keep them informed, so when they go to the polls, they can know what they're voting on.
Cool. Wow. Well, thank you, Greg and Kendall, for this great presentation. I feel like part of why I do this is so I can learn more what's going on in Vermont. And I was just realizing my husband said yesterday was Ethan Allen's birthday. So I think he would be very proud of us moving forward with our organizing and being Vermonters and taking part in the way that we do. I'm going to close. So thank you for tuning to Town Meetings TV's ongoing coverage of local candidates, budgets, and ballot items. You can find this and many more forums at cctv.org/TMD2026 or on Town Meeting TV's YouTube channel. Don't forget to cast your ballot on Town Meeting Day on or before March 3rd. Then tune into Town Meeting TV's results recap show that evening, starting live at 7 p.m., and that is a show not to be missed. Contact your local clerk to find out how to obtain a ballot and to register to vote. In Vermont, you can register to vote on Election Day. Thank you for watching and sharing Town Meeting TV.